Explain your opinion of the phrase opposites attract. You know what I think? I don't. Having been with someone complete opposite of me, I don't buy the whole opposites attract thing anymore. I just don't think that's a thing. I think people like the idea of opposites attract and the phrase of opposites attract, but
I think
the practicalities of it are actually terrible. And if you're with someone who's more on your level, who likes the same things that you are, and is more like you personality-wise, you are 100%, in my opinion, you're 100% more likely to get along than someone you are complete opposite of.
Yeah, I get that. And I think it's under the circumstances again, because you might want someone who's completely opposite to you, and it's a good little experience, like you're going into something different, and it's like you might like something that you never thought you ever would.
Yeah, but in that sense, you just want someone who's similar but not the same. Like me and you we have a very similar sense of humour, and we get along well, we don't argue, etc., etc. But we are not banter. But we're not the same people. We don't like all the same stuff.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want you. Like, my main interests are computers, games, football, boxing, stuff like that. Yours are none of those things.
No.
So, like, if you had all the same interests as me, they'd be like it
would be very boring.
We were on top of each other all the time.
Yeah, it would be very boring.
But in terms of your personality, maybe not your interests, but your personality and the things you find funny, I think if your sense of humour is different, it makes things different. Like,
I just think if you're a nice person in general as well, like, because you could, like, not I'm saying you specifically, but you could be dating a total bitch, and obviously it'll be like embarrassing to the other person. Like, I think in terms of like opposites attract, I see where you're coming from, as well as, I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, you could be.
Let me phrase it as: Would you suggest that people that would be fall in the bracket of opposites are more likely to have a successful relationship than people that fall into the bracket of similar?
What do you mean?
Do you think that two people like me and you that are more similar would have a more successful relationship than people that would say, oh, you know, yeah, we like each other because we're so different?
Again, it's hard to say because you don't know what to say. But yeah, I think some people like us in our relationship, in our similar, I'd say yeah, they're probably more likely to have a successful relationship.
I think because you're less likely to butt heads, and I think ultimately it comes down to, can you live with each other permanently? How much you're going to clash? Yeah. And I think the more you clash and the more different you are, more different. Also, we use more different. I don't think that's right, but the more different that you are, the more like you are to butt heads, argue, and cause problems. I think if you're more alike, you're much more on the same level, and you're
much more chilled.
Yeah, and you could just have conversations with each other before things get to boiling point.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're with someone who's completely different from you, you don't necessarily know what you're doing is winding them up because you're so out of tune with each other because you're not the same. Whereas you might know that. I mean, you can get to know someone that's opposite you and get to know those things, but you lack the
attraction,
the empathy of why they're getting frustrated because you don't find that frustrating. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If you're with someone that's opposite, they might find it funny to laugh at other people's misfortunes because that's just funny for them. But you might not find that funny. You might find something completely different funny. But they might think like, like some people got a really slapstick sense of humour. They're like, seeing people trip over is hilarious to them. But you might think, oh, it's horrible, that person's probably hurt. And you find what you consider a more normal thing funny. I think if you're too far off the board with each other on that, then I having been there to an extent, I just don't, now from a personal experience, I just don't think I think that saying's a bit of a myth.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I kind of agree with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look at us agreeing on stuff. Look at me talking for ages and you going, yeah, I agree.
Bah.
Bah.